Happy Friday, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started comparing fractions on a number line. So we'll end our week with comparing fractions with some work from a workbook page. So for this week, if you printed it out, go ahead and grab it. Sometime, hopefully this week, you received a little care package full of goodies from us, and one goodie being your math workbook. So next week we won't have to be sending you these pages. We can just tell you which ones to carefully tear out of your book. But for now, if you have this page handy, why don't you grab it? And if not, that's okay. You can still compare fractions using just paper and pencil. All right, let's take a look at this first one. Aunt C walked 2/6 of the distance from 0 to 1 on the number line. Aunt D walked 2/3 of the distance from 0 to 1. Who walked further? Or did the aunts walk the same distance? How do you know? So basically what this problem is asking us to do is to compare two fractions, 2/6 and 2/3. So let's go ahead and start with 2/6. So if I want to place 2/6 on the number line, what would I have to divide my whole into? I can tell you're all screaming at your computer screen right now, and you're screaming 6. 6 equal parts. So let's go ahead and divide each whole into 6 equal parts. Start by thirds, and then I like to split my thirds. And let's make sure that each whole is split into 6 relatively equal parts. I can tell I'm not super equal over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now let's find where 2/6 would be. Count with me. 0, 6, 1, 6, 2, 6. There's 2/6. That's Aunt A. I'm just going to mark that with Aunt A. Nope, Aunt C. Sorry. Okay. So now let's find out where Aunt D walked. Aunt D walked 2/3. So our denominators are different. So I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to do what we did on Wednesday. Just make a copy of this number line and split it in thirds. Now you probably have steadier hands. I'm going to go ahead and just use a straight edge here to make sure I have relatively equal lines. And if you need to pause and get a straight edge, or pause so you can take your time to make sure it's relatively straight and equal, go ahead and do that. Okay, so I have my copy. This time I'm going to split my whole into thirds. So let's go ahead. One, 2, 3, and do the same thing over here. 1, 2, 3. So this number line is divided into thirds. Now let's find where 2/3 would be. 0/3, 1/3, 2/3. Which aunt walked the furthest? Aunt C or Aunt D? Clearly Aunt D walked further. So let's just record that. Aunt D walked further. How did we know? We knew because we drew pictures. We drew a number line to represent both fractions, and we compared. That's how we knew. We could have drawn pictures like we did on Monday, like we were doing with our pans of brownies, to represent and compare the two fractions. That's another way to do it. Okay, let's look at the second one. Compare 3/4 and 6/8 on the number line. Which fraction is greater, or are they equal? And how do you know? I know how we know, because we're going to draw pictures to find out and prove it. So we're just comparing 3/4 and 6/8. Now take a look at the denominators. They're different. So I'm going to suggest again we do two number lines for now. Okay, so let's look at the first one, 3/4. That means here's my whole. It needs to be in 4 equal groups. So I have 2 wholes here. Let's make them both into fourths, 4 equal groups. Start with your halves, and then split your halves in half. 1, 2, 3, 4, and do the same for the other half, the other whole. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we were going to number this number line, say it with me. 0/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4, or 2. But let's go back and let's just find where 3/4 would be. 0/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Okay. Now 6/8. Let's go ahead, get your straight edge, or pause it for that steady hand that you have, and let's draw a copy of this number line. Notice how I'm putting the 1 under the 1, the 2 under the 2. There's my copy. This time, I'm looking at this fraction 6/8. This is in eighths. This is in fourths. Let's split our whole into 8 equal groups. Start with splitting it in half. Then split your half in half for fourths. Now split each fourth in half for eighths. And do that with both wholes. Now let's read this number line. 0/8, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8, or 1, 9/8, 10/8, 11/8, 12/8, 13/8, 14/8, 15/8, 16/8, or 2. Now let's back it up and let's just find 6/8. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8. What do you think of these two fractions? Is one bigger than the other? Or do they look like they're at the same point? 3/4 and 6/8 are equal. They are equivalent fractions. 3/4 equals 6/8. They're equivalent fractions. All right, flip it over. Let's try a couple more. Okay, so there's 3 more. If you're feeling pretty comfortable and you want to try the last 3 on your own, go ahead and hit pause and then try the last 3 and compare when you're done. If you're not so comfortable, stick with me and we'll try the next 3 together. Okay, number 3. Aunt D walked 4/8 the distance from 0 to 1 on a number line, and Aunt E walked 5/8 of the distance from 0 to 1. Who walked further or did they walk the same distance? How do we know? So we're going to compare 4/8 and 5/8. Now take a look at their denominators. They're the same. So it's okay, it's easy for us to just use one number line because they're the same denominator. Let's see what that looks like. So each one of these wholes is going to be divided into 8 equal groups. So let's do that now. Find your half, then your fourths, and then split your fourths in half for 8s. And take your time. And if you have to erase and fix something, go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have our 8 equal groups. Let's go ahead and find 4/8. 0/8, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8. And let's go ahead and find Aunt E at 5/8. Right next door there. Who walked further? Aunt E walked further. Okay?
I'll remember the exact tell her.
All right, let's go on to number 4. All right.
Bye.
One number line because we had the same denominator. It just makes it easy that way. So let's look at number 4. Compare 7/6 and 7/3. 7/3 on the number line. Which fraction is greater? Okay. So we have 2 different denominators. So I'm going to suggest we just do 2 number lines to make it neat and easy. So the first whole is going to be divided into 6 equal groups. So let's go ahead and split this number line into 6 equal groups. Start with your thirds and then split your thirds. So you have 6. Pause if you need to. And now let's go ahead and find where 7/6 would be. 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, 6/6 or 1 whole, 7/6. 7/6 is greater than 1, not by much, but it's bigger than 1. We know that 6/6 would be 1 whole. 7/6 would be just a little bit more than 1 whole. All right, let's see where 7/3 would be. So I'm going to make my copy underneath. Zero, 1, 2. Go ahead and make your copy. And now let's take a look at our whole. It's divided into thirds. So let's split it in thirds. Okay. And now let's see where 7/3 would be. Count with me. 0/3, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3, 5/3, 6/3. Oh my goodness. 7/3 is way over here. 7/3 is more than 2. So which fraction is bigger? Clearly you can look and see that 7/3 is greater. So let's mark that over here. 7/3 is greater than 7/6. And that makes sense. Think about it. If we have a brownie pan that's only split into 3 parts, those are much bigger parts than if you had a brownie pan that had 6 equal parts. Those are a lot smaller. So it makes sense that 7/3 is bigger than 7/6 because thirds are bigger than 6 anyways. And to have 7 of them, that's a lot more. Does that make sense? If you had your fraction bars, which you might by now in your little stash of goodies I put together for you, but here's what 1/3 looks like, and there's 1/6. So thirds are much bigger than 6. So it makes sense that 7 of these is greater than 7/6. All right, let's try one more. This last one, number 5. Aunt F walked 1/4 of the distance from 0 to 1. Aunt G walked 2/8 of the distance from 0 to 1. Who walked further? Or did they walk the same distance? How do you know? Okay, let's check. So really we're comparing 1/4 and 2/8. So let's use this first number line to show our fourths. So let's split our whole into 4 equal groups. Let's do each one into 4 equal groups. And let's find where 1/4 would be. 0/4, 1/4. Okay, now we're going to make our second number line. This time we're going to divide it in 8ths. Now for now, I suggest we just do a copy. And we'll divide this one up into 8ths. So take your time with your copy. And we'll split it in 4ths. And then we'll split the 4ths in half for our 8ths. And now let's find where 2/8 would be. 0/8, 1/8, 2/8. And what do you notice about 1/4 and 2/8? They are at the same point on the number line. These fractions we say are equivalent. 1/4 equals 2/8. So to answer the question, who walked further, we would simply say they walked the same distance. Let's just say they walked the same. Squeeze it in there. What you're going to work on now is a page that's called Smaller or Equal. There's 3 problems, and you're doing the same thing that we were just doing, comparing 3/2 and 3/4, 5/6 and 10/6, and the last one you're comparing 4/8 and 1/2. If I were you, looking at number 1, 3/2 and 3/4, they're different denominators, so if I were you, I would make my copy. Make your copy. So you can do 3/2 on this number line, and you can do 3/4 on this number line. Look at number 2. Number 2, you're comparing 5/6 and 10/6. I suggest you only use one number line. Why? Because you have the same denominator. So that would be okay to use one number line. And the third one I want you to try, 4/8 and 1/2, two different fractions, two different denominators. So let's just go ahead and make your copy so you have it there and it's ready for you. Give these three a try. If you're stuck, that's okay. Maybe you could rewatch the video and try again. We're asking you to do some hard math right now, and we'd be doing this a lot differently in the classroom with our fraction bars, and we've been working together and with partners and making this a lot probably easier for you. But try your best with this. Your fourth grade teacher is definitely going to know that fractions, are going to be tricky for you guys next year, and that's okay. It's going to be tricky for everybody in the whole world, so you're not alone. So give this a try, do your best, don't get frustrated with it. And I did put a bonus Kahoot in there today. I think there's 5 questions. Again, don't forget to use your real name, otherwise I'm not going to know who you are. If you use something silly like Crazy Panda 281, I'm not going to know who you are. Anyways, good luck with this. Do your best. Have an awesome weekend. And stay healthy. Hope to see you guys all soon.